So today I'm going to be taking you through my setup for September. I've got a few treats for you in this video. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how my planning process has evolved from just using a weekly setup to actually incorporating some dailies. I'm going to be showing you a really nifty little product to use in your bullet journal and for many other things, but I'm really looking forward to showing you that one. And I've got a little treat for those of you that enjoyed Lee's last cameo on my last video. The other thing was I've had quite a few questions about this bullet journal cover. It's actually one that I made, and I have made a tutorial so that you can make one for yourselves. It'll be up in that little eye icon up here somewhere. So I wanted to show you how my process for planning has evolved a little bit. Since I started bullet journaling, I always thought of my dailies being these sort of small sections in my weekly setup. Since reading Ryder Carroll's book, The Bullet Journal Method, realised that I'm not actually using dailies in the way they were intended. I just have these small sections and I'd put tasks in and appointments, and that would be about it. I have extra sections here for notes and things, but for the most part, this is my sort of sized area for a daily. After reading Ryder's book, I realised how helpful and effective rapid logging could be. And that's all something that you do in your dailies. Now, I didn't have enough space to do any rapid logging in here, so I have followed Ryder's advice and started using dailies properly. So here you can see, here's just a little collection page. I have started just chucking them in anywhere, wherever I'm at in my bullet journal, I put them in. And I've started finally actually using an index, which I've never done before. But here you can see the start of my proper daily spaces. So the rapid logging is basically anything that's in your brain you put down on the piece of paper in your daily log, whether that be appointments, tasks, emotions that you felt that day, thoughts that you've had that day, ideas that you might have come up with, anything at all goes into this daily log. And then at the end of the day, you can sort through the little different bits and bobs and decide whether or not you want to do something else with them, or if they can just stay there, or whether they need to be moved to a collection or anything like that. So it's complete freedom of just putting everything from your brain down onto the paper. So this is where I started, and then I did a slightly different layout for my second attempt, and I've got all sorts of things in here about, I actually have a little note in here if you can read that, more power to you. And then I've got just any ideas I had, anything at all, anything that happened, like Lee's car broke down, so I noted that in. Tristan had a haircut, I noted that in. Just any sort of thing that's on your mind. And then on this side you can see I've done the same sort of thing again, and you'll notice that actually there's quite a lot more each day than just what would have been put into my weekly setups, because I didn't feel like I had enough space to let everything just come flying out and onto the page. Now I don't feel any restrictions about what I'm putting down, and because I know I'm putting everything down, I don't worry about forgetting anything. Next, I wanted to show you this super cool little product. It's amazing! I don't know if it's a faux memo or Fomio. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but I've never seen one of these before, and I just thought it was amazing. It's brilliant. Look, this is a little teeny tiny printer, and you can print things directly from your phone. You've got in here, you open it up, and there's the little roll of printer paper stuff that the image gets printed on, and they're actually stickers, so you can just stick them straight in. You don't have to mess about with glue or anything like that. You just peel it and stick it. It's great! So I wanted to show you how this works. For instance, if I wanted to, I'm not going to show you my password. If I wanted to print something off to go in my bullet journal, I've been using it very much for photos and capturing memories, which is something I've never done in my bullet journal before. I've always just had writing, and that's pretty much it. But now I'm actually putting photos and things in, which just, I love it. It makes me feel like it really adds something special to my bullet journal for when I look back through it. So you can see here, this is the Fomemo app, and I'm going to go into print images, and I'm picking this one of my little hamster. So you just connect your phone to the printer via Bluetooth. It's really simple. So I've got this picture of my little hamster, and once you've selected it, you just press the print button. Then you've got this menu that comes up here, and you've got the thickness of the sticker paper. I tend to prefer medium. I think it just prints the best, and the quantities, and it tells you how much you're going to use. So I'm going to print this one off and show you what happens. Okay, this is how quick it is. Done. Simple. And then you just tear it off, and look at his little face. Now, you might all notice that it's quite grainy, so it's not the highest quality pictures from photographs and things, but I don't mind it. I kind of think it adds character to my bullet journal. But if you really want high quality photos, I wouldn't suggest getting this one, because as you can see, it doesn't. They come out with varying degrees of success, but I really like the sort of character of this and how it looks in my bullet journal. Over here, I used it in a different way. You see this here? This is some notes. It was ideas and things that I was thinking about that were stuck in my head, and I thought, oh, I'll write them down on a piece of paper, and then I'll come back and I'll transfer it across into my bullet journal. And I thought, I haven't got a piece of paper, and then I realised I had my phone. I always have my phone on me, so I could take notes on my phone, and then you can print them off onto here, and then that means you never lose it. You can just stick it straight into your bullet journal. Plus it means you don't have to keep writing the same notes out if you want to put them from somewhere else into your bullet journals. So for me, that's one of the best things about this. Overall, I just think it's a really, really fantastic product, and I highly, highly recommend it. I've been using it a lot, and I'm really enjoying not only the aesthetics of being able to use this, but also the practicality of being able to use it. So yes, thank you Lemome. They did send this one to me to review, and I'm so glad you did. I think it's a fantastic product, so thank you very much. Okay, so now we are going to get into Lee's next little cameo. I'm not going to say anything about it. I shall just let you enjoy.
Okay. This video was brought to you in part by Skillshare. Before I talk about Skillshare, I want to talk about Miss McKenna's Life Leverage. Like and subscribe to Miss McKenna's Life Leverage by order of the Peaky Blinders. If you don't, I'll have to tell our Thomas, and then you know what's going to happen next. Skillshare is dedicated to helping you learn a new lifelong skill. Isn't that great? It's an online learning community with more than 25,000 classes. You can find many genres of classes, such as bullet journaling, art, brush lettering, as well as business and technology orientated classes. Because it's online, you can learn anywhere you like. With Skillshare, you can learn at a time and a pace that suits your individual lifestyle. See the description to find a link for your 2 months free of Skillshare Premium. If for some reason you find that Skillshare doesn't suit your needs, you can cancel any time you like. If you cancel your subscription to Miss McKenna's Life Leverage, you know what'll happen. Thank you.
Okay, so we're finally into my September setup, and I decided to pick puzzle pieces for this month's theme because they're so easy to actually draw, and they're quite simplistic. I wouldn't say that this spread is a minimalist spread by any stretch of the imagination, but the decorations really are minimal this month, and they're so easy to draw. So what I'm doing is I've got my squares, and then I'm just drawing little circles in the center of each side, either inside the line or outside the line, and then just tracing round the image. And I found that's definitely the easiest way to make puzzle pieces that sort of look a similar shape. And I do tend to like rounding off the corners of the puzzle pieces. I just think they look a little bit cuter, just a little bit sweeter. And then I just add a little bit of shading onto them, and I just think they're really effective and cute, and they're so easy. I don't think it would be fair to say that any of my setups are minimalist, purely because I have quite complicated spreads for my personal needs and just what I find is most effective for me. But I think it's safe to say that out of all the spreads I've done, this is probably the most simple. I've not used any colours. I've kept to very similar spreads that I would usually use, but I am enjoying how sort of clean and simple this whole spread ends up looking, and it really is very, very simple to mimic or recreate. I've used the same font throughout this whole spread because I find that if you've got too many, it just sort of messes up the spread. It's too much for your eye to look at and it gets a bit too complicated. You might see here my little one, he was convinced that these were parking spaces. So with it being half term and him not being at school, working's a little bit harder from home because obviously he wants to play and he wants to get involved. So there'll be some cars on the screen for a minute. But what I was saying is usually I tend to keep to one or two kinds of fonts now. I've definitely learned that tends to make things look just more cohesive. But in this one, I've just kept to one font. And this particular font is inspired by Boho Berry's, I'm not sure what she calls it. It's like a messy handwriting kind of font. I just cannot remember the name of it, but it is on her Facebook page somewhere. What I did to actually learn this font is I printed off the page with all the letters on, and then I just sort of practiced and looked at the letters that I liked. Some of the letters are different to what she does because I prefer things to be a certain way. I just prefer it. But I think it's a good idea to look at different fonts and look at letters individually and see what you like about that letter. Is it the shape of it? Is it the size of it? Because when you enjoy your handwriting, it's much easier to enjoy a spread. Even if you're not very good at art or being sort of more creative on the page, if you enjoy your handwriting, it makes a huge difference to the way the spread looks. So I definitely recommend, I have done many times, trying to improve your handwriting, and not even improve it, just put it in a way that you really enjoy. Yes, improving your handwriting can take some time and effort, but it's a skill that you're going to use every single day. So I personally think it's well worth investing the time to improve your handwriting. So as you can see, I'm using these black boxes as headers, and I'm going to write on them with a white gel pen. I've had so much trouble trying to find a pen that will write on black without sort of seeping into the ink. I can't find anything that will cover over a Tombow. That just doesn't seem to work. It always seeps in and goes really dull. But the white jelly roll pen seems to work on most other black pens. So if you're struggling with it, get yourself a white jelly roll pen and hopefully that will solve the problem. So that's pretty much my monthly setup done. I've got my space on the left to track just little things like the month at a glance, and then on the right I have my events, and in the centre I have that main calendar. It's not going to be overly useful because there's not a lot of space in those boxes, but I do like to have a big calendar view, and I can always use dots or colours or a key to note anything down if I really need to. Next, I've got my few lines a day pages, and I really enjoy having this spread because sometimes I forget what's happened throughout the week or the month or the days. My memory's not fantastic, but even if it was, it's nice to have a place that you can succinctly put down the main events of your day and what you did, and then you can look back on it. It's a nice memory keeper, and it's also really handy for reference as well. So it's definitely one of my favourite, most useful spreads because it's like having a mini journal that's really easy and quick to fill in. So yes, it's definitely one of my favourites. And again, you can see I kept it really simple. I just put the heading and then decorated it with a few little puzzle pieces. And that was it. Here we've got my health and habits tracker. I have got a separate video on how I use my sort of health tracker. It's slightly different than the layout I've got now because I changed things so that I could have my habits on the same page because it uses less space and better for all my pages. But I just decorated it with a couple of puzzle pieces, really simple. And then I've got on the top two columns is like a bar graph. I use different symbols to be able to correspond to the different aspects of the table, like pain is an empty circle, stress is a black circle, and then my mood I sort of shade a bar. This makes it even easier to see if there's any correlation between different aspects, and it's really, really handy if you've got a chronic illness or even anxiety or depression, and if you're seeing a doctor or a GP or anything like that, it really gives them a better view of what's going on with you. And also it's great for your own reference because you can start working out what might actually help your symptoms. And then on the bottom I have a space for marking in where I'm using my time, so how many hours I'm spending different things, and rather than using different colours, I've shaded the boxes differently because I hate having to carry a load of colours with me. I just don't like it. So I just use different ways of shading the box, and then that way I don't have to have extra colours. And then on the right hand side I just have a space for extra notes for anything that I think might have affected any of the things on that page. Next up, we've got my productivity level tracker. This spread was inspired by the Boosted Journal. He's got a really, really great page, so I would definitely recommend you go and check him out. I've got a whole video dedicated to this spread because it's fairly complicated, but I really like having it because it helps me see at a glance how productive I've been throughout the month. It also encourages me on days where I'm feeling a little bit unmotivated or fatigued, or just to try and get a little bit more done. It's also really handy to look back in conjunction or in combination with my health and habits tracker, because if I find that I'm having a really bad pain day or something like that, I can look back at my productivity level tracking, and sometimes I can tell whether it's because I've done too much, or sometimes I can tell if I've managed to save energy because I've not done so much. And because of the different types of activities I'm doing, I can work out what takes more energy and what's harder for me to manage, which then makes it easier for me to plan out my days because I'm going to know what I'm going to be able to achieve in a day. There's so many benefits to this spread. It's really, 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 really useful, especially for someone with a chronic illness. So I definitely recommend trying it out, even if you just try it once. Next up, I've got really, really simple spreads. It's my successes and gratitude page. So on the successes page, I put things that I've done well that I can be proud of. It helps encourage me to carry on going. And when I'm feeling down, I can see what I've achieved. And gratitude, I think it's always great to remember what you're grateful for, and it helps you prioritize the things that you're grateful for, because sometimes we put our time and energy into the wrong things. So this really keeps me on track. And yeah, it's really, really simple setup with the puzzle pieces. And the same way, I've got my feelings page because I like to write down how I've been feeling each day, because I suffer with depression, so it helps me to not catastrophize. If I have a few bad days, I can look back and go, yeah, it doesn't last that long, because sometimes I tend to sort of dwell on things. So it gives me a reality check. The relationship care spread, I also have a video explaining everything in the aspects of that one, so I won't go into that, but I will say I do find it very helpful to make sure I'm prioritizing my relationship and just keeping track of things. Finally, we are on to my weekly setup, and I'm using a Dutch door, and it's more for practicality reasons rather than the aesthetics of it, because since I've been using my dailies more effectively, I'm having a lot more information in my bullet journal. So I wanted to make sure I had a concrete place, like a catch-all, to put the most important things, the things that I really have to remember, or actionable tasks that have to get done at a specific time. I wanted to keep my weeklies all together so they're not scattered throughout my dailies, so they're much easier to find, and also it's going to be a lot easier to transfer tasks over if they don't get done one week to the next. I've only given myself one page for each week because I'm not going to need to put a whole lot of information in, because most of it's going to go in my dailies. So I've only got the 7 days of the week, and then I realised that I'd actually put 8 spaces. So I decided to list down my top project, which is great because it gives me a strong focus for the week. And then I've got the tasks that need to get done for definite that week, and any notes that I need to make. And then I've got my mini calendar because I love seeing the progression through the week and being able to easily see which week we're in. And then I also have a space to track what number the week is of the whole year. The reason I've actually made it into a Dutch door is because it means that all my weeks are between just 2 main pages. So if I want to turn a page, I can turn it to the weekly spreads and I know all the weeks are going to be in that sort of setup. It's kind of complicated to explain. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm saying, but I know what I mean. And what I'm probably going to do is put some washi tape down one edge of these weeklies, so it's going to be really easy to flip back and find them if I need to. I'm not going to fill in all the 4 weeks here because I'm doing exactly the same setup for each week, and you'll see them all in the flip through. So I shall end this video by saying all the links to the products that I use will be in the description, as well as the links for your 2 months free of Skillshare. I also wanted to say a quick thank you to Lee for doing his little cameo, because I really didn't give him very long to prepare for it. It was like, quick, do this! And then he did it, and that was it. So I didn't give him much of a chance to perfect anything, but I think he's done really well. He's a star. The other thing is, if you want to find me on social media, all the links will be in the description. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, because it really helps my channel out. And that's about it for this spread. I don't think I have anything else to say. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!